You've had a completely insane couple of weeks, thousands of stories. You galvanised, a national conversation about consent amongst young women. Now, where are we at in terms of what's happening tangibly? Who's kind of talking to you and who's seeking your advice, and what do you think might actually happen?
Okay, so we have a few different levels of society who are engaging with me at the moment. I
Yep.
have insane engagement from students and young adults, recently ex-students. I have insane engagement from parents who are reaching out and saying, they've changed their perception on how they should be having these conversations, or they're shocked by this and they want to improve this for their children. And at a school level, I've been getting a lot of support from principals, especially from independent schools around New South Wales. So on Tuesday night, I met with 9 or 10 principals from pretty much every private school in the eastern suburbs and did a workshop with them. And I basically took that as an opportunity to teach them the things that I want their students to know about. To night for me, so tomorrow morning for Sydney in Australia, I will be holding another one of these workshop seminars with alumni representatives from around 15 different schools around Sydney. And doing the same thing again, which is amazing. And so that's kind of a school and parent connection, because a lot of these alumni have gone ahead and sent their children to the same schools they went to, because I'm sure that they had a great time there if they're committed to being on the alumni committee. And also, I've been getting a lot of support from different MPs around New South Wales at a state and a federal level, which has been amazing in terms of moving forward with the parliamentary action. The deputy premier from Victoria just reached out. Actually, I'm meeting with the Minister of Education for New South Wales in the following week. And state MPs and federal MPs from all different parties have, pledged their commitment to this cause. And I really don't want this to be a party versus party situation. I want it to be a united front. It shouldn't matter what your political beliefs are. This is a human right violation, and everyone should be on board with it. And yeah, I'm getting lots of support from MPs around New South Wales.
That's a massive response. Like, you've had such an impact, Chanel. I want to ask you what you've said to these principals and these schools that they don't already know. But before we do, I need to ask you a really fundamental question. When you read through all the stories which are on your website, all those testimonies, which kind of are overwhelming, I think, in their horror and their sameness. What do you think is going on? Why are so many women being raped today?
I think it's because we ultimately live in a rape culture society, and that's what I'm trying to bring to light. I know rape culture society sounds so extreme, and I don't think there would be many people in Australia who would agree that rape is okay. But what people are forgetting is that it's the micro actions, the small throwaway phrases, our everyday interactions with people that set the foundation for these extreme examples being okay. And because that is the norm until you're explicitly told otherwise, until you receive consent education, you don't know any better. And the thing is, we need to attack this from both prongs. We need to, one, give better education, and we need to, two, stop this foundation, demolish the foundations of rape culture so the structure can fall. So these tendencies don't follow through up until all levels of life, all the way up until Parliament.
Tell us what these stories all have in common. I mean, a couple of things I noticed was the girls or being uncertain about whether this was actually rape or not, them taking some time to come to terms with it, or mental health issues that followed on. Tell us what you noticed are the threads going through them.
For sure. So there's obviously some anomaly testimonies that are just obviously insanely malicious and vindictive.
Right.
But the vast majority of these testimonies ultimately comes down to a lack of education. There's a gap in the bridge between what the perpetrator thinks is sexual assault and what the victim experiences as sexual assault. And a lot of the time that realization only happens later when you get taught what sexual assault is. So it yeah, it's ultimately these like thousands of people not knowing that what happened to them was sexual assault because they weren't educated at the time. And then that also means that they weren't properly equipped to get out of the situation. Slash, it sets a way that, you know, the blame falls on the victim because they internalize the guilt, because if they're only taught that no means no and they realize that they never actually said the word no in that moment. You know, no is a powerful word. It's really hard to say the word no to someone who's in a position of power to you. And if we're going to stick to the idea that consent is just no means no, there's going to be too many exploitations of power, which leads to too many of these situations where people are being sexually coerced into acts when they're not ready, or they're too young, or they just don't want to be there, no matter their age.